8 human-animal hybrids that really exist. In this video, you're going to discover 8 human-animal hybrids that really exist. What's up, Fact Junkies, and welcome to another unique and crazy episode from the animal world. If you're wondering whether this pig and human hybrid is the real deal, then make sure you stick around for number 1, because the answer will blow you away. Scientists around the world are at work creating real half-human, half-animal hybrids. It may sound like something out of a science fiction, but combining human DNA with animal DNA is no longer a thing of movies. According to most scientists, this part human animals they've created are nothing but ethical, as they will let us run medical experiments and procedures that could save millions of humans' lives. But we'll leave it up to you to decide where the line between animal and man is to be drawn. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started.
In the shape of a human ear, and it's completely connected to the blood vessels.
Number 8. The rabbit man grown in a dish. The first successful human-animal hybrid was developed in a laboratory dish in Shanghai, China in 2003. A team of ambitious scientists joined human cells into rabbit eggs to create embryos of a new creature that was half rabbit and half human. They may have been the first to succeed, but they were certainly not the first to try it. Scientists in the United States had also been trying to make animal-human hybrids of their own. But none of theirs survived, and the Shanghai team was the first to pull it off. And half may have been a bit of an overstatement, because the vast majority of the DNA in the hybrids growing inside the rabbit eggs was actually human. Only a very small amount of DNA was taken from rabbits, which means that whatever came out was far more man than animal. They only allowed the creature to develop for a few days before destroying it and harvesting its stem cells, so the world never got to see the experiment. But can you imagine what a human with bunny ears might have looked like? And if you think this experiment was crazy, then stick around for number 1, because it will blow you away. Number 7. The mouse with a human ear. The most famously known human-animal hybrid technically wasn't a human-animal hybrid at all. But if the experiment had gone through to the end, it probably would have been. Back in 1997, a team of Harvard and MIT scientists bioengineered a mouse with a human ear on its back. The scientists placed a biodegradable scaffolding in the shape of a human ear inside the mouse. The scaffolding was then slowly absorbed by the mouse's body and turned into an actual biological human ear consisting of actual cartilage and flesh. The idea behind this project was to help plastic surgeons who have a hard time reconstructing human ears. And theoretically speaking, the ear could have been surgically removed and grafted onto an actual human being. But for better or for worse, the project ran out of funding before the researchers could move on to human trials. The scientists still insist they could pull it off if only they could secure another $1 million in funding. And even though it was intended for ethical purposes, some would say it's better such a gruesome experiment was phased out. Number 6. Goats and cows that lactate human milk. Back in 2009, a group of Russian and Belarusian scientists genetically modified goats to produce human breast milk. Their ultimate goal was to harvest human breast milk on an assembly line, sure that people would flock to their local grocery stores for the chance to buy a bottle for their family. The Russian team even advertised that its human milk would make delicious cheese. And while they weren't able to make the milk 100% human, they did manage to fill it with enough human cells to create milk that contains 60% of the lysosome and lactoferrin that make up human breast milk. And they weren't the only ones to somewhat succeed at their experiment. Shortly after their success, a group of Chinese scientists went on to make a whole herd of 300 cattle that produced human milk. Though they're still working on convincing the world that human milk coming from a mutant cow is something worth buying. But once they do, you may be able to pick it up at a store near you. Real quick, we have a speed challenge that will only take 5 seconds to complete. If you manage to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications in the next 5 seconds, the YouTube gods will bless you with 10 years of incredible luck. Who knows, your biggest dreams and desires might just come true. And even if it doesn't quite work out, at least you'll get notified each time we drop another bomb video that will amaze you. So what do you have to lose? Hurry up and subscribe. Number 5. Mice with human brains. It's one thing to put a human ear on a mouse's back, but in 2014, a team of researchers decided to seriously blur the line between human and animal by giving mice millions of human brain cells. The researchers replaced almost every single cell in the mice's brains with human cells, leaving only the original mouse neurons intact. Once inside, the human cells almost completely took over the mouse brains, and within a year, their glial cells had been completely replaced by human brain cells. The average adult human brain has about 10 billion cells, and each of these mice ended up having about 12 million human cells at work inside their tiny little hybrid brains. And if that wasn't disturbing enough, scientists also ran horrible tests on these mice. In one of their experiments, They played a noise before attacking the mice with an electric shock in order to measure how the mice reacted the next time they heard the same threatening sound. It was fairly twisted to say the least, but it did prove that the memories of these modified mice were 4 times stronger than those of a normal mouse. Number 4. The human-chimpanzee hybrid. If 2 Chinese scientists are to be believed, in 1967, they came close to creating a human-chimpanzee hybrid, and they would have actually succeeded had the experiment not been shut down early. The 2 scientists from Shenyang claimed they undertook an experiment in which they successfully impregnated a female chimpanzee with human sperm. Yep, that's right. Their goal was to create a whole new, more highly evolved chimpanzee with a larger brain and a wider mouth. They even hoped that their new creature would be able to speak. Unfortunately, the plans they had in mind for this hybrid weren't the most pleasant. The idea was to use it as a slave by making it drive carts and herd sheep, and even send some of them off on experiments in outer space. But nothing ever come of it due to the growing concern about human ethics. The project fell apart when revolutionaries smashed their lab and destroyed their supposedly unethical work, which meant the chimpanzee died before she could give birth to the hybrid. The researchers claimed that she was already 3 months pregnant. Can you imagine how such a creature might have looked and behaved? Number 3. Mice with human anal sphincters. If you thought the mouse with a human ear on its back was weird, then this next one has to be the strangest sounding experiment into human-animal hybrids. Yep, believe it or not, but in 2011, scientists grafted real human anal sphincters onto mice. The scientists literally bioengineered anal sphincters, making them complete with human nerves and muscles and everything. And they were delighted to see that the sphincters would generate actual blood supply and easily fuse with the rest of the flesh when grafted onto the mice's bodies. The mice could even relax and contract them just like humans could with their own natural sphincters. But why go through the hassle of conducting such a disturbing experiment? Well, the real purpose was to do some early testing for a procedure that's really meant for human beings. Scientists are hoping to make bioengineered replacement anal sphincters for humans, pursuing the patient's own skin and nerve cells. It sounds disgusting to say the least, but it might just save a ton of lives. And if you think that's a weird one, just wait until you see number 1. Number 2. Pigs with half-human blood. As if trying to get human milk out of cows wasn't unsettling enough, the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota took things a step further by creating the first pig with half-human blood flowing through its veins. They did so by injecting human stem cells into a pig fetus, and you might be wondering, why? The purpose of the experiment was to see how human and pig cells would interact when they were fused together. It turned out some of the cells stayed separate, and their new hybrid creature had purely human and purely pig source cells in different parts of its body. But others actually fused together to make DNA that had never been seen before. In particular, the animal had a type of blood that the world had never seen before, created out of the fusion of human and pig DNA. The result was an animal that may have looked like a normal pig on the outside, but on the inside, it had half human, half pig cells throughout its entire body. Number 1. Pigs with human organs. Believe it or not, one of the biggest fields in science in the US today is the creation of human-animal hybrids that can be harvested for human hearts and lungs. It's still a little controversial around the world, which is why the Hiromitsu Nakauchi, one of the leading scientists working on the project, had to leave his home country of Japan and come to America to avoid legal persecution. In the US, however, his work is encouraged. It was, in fact, the US Army who gave him a $1.4 million grant to get the project underway. In 2017, Hiromitsu and his team created 186 embryos for a pig-human hybrid, and right now, they're even working on a sheep-human hybrid. That said, every creature is only allowed to develop for 28 days before it is destroyed. So far, their most human creature only had 0.01% human DNA, so it's still mostly an animal and surely wasn't enough to make human organs. So if you're wondering whether a human-pig hybrid can actually exist, the answer is near. The project is still in progress, and Nakauchi insists that they're getting closer every day. You've just seen 8 human-animal hybrids that really exist. What do you think? Are these creatures just mutated animals, or the beginnings of something more human? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, then join the Facts Junkie community by hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you don't miss another amazing video. See you in the next one.